Desk in the bed.
Hey, good Friday evening, everybody. I'm your host, Bams. With me is my co-host, Joey Wrestling. Joey, how you doing?
No, not bad. Yourself?
Not too bad. I can't complain, dude. So we right before we went on, there was some big news that broke, and I'm sure it's already all over like the internet and everything like that. Nick Khan sold, I want to say, all of his stock in TKO, which was very, I don't know, that was like really surprising to me to see him sell everything.
Yeah, I still I saw the Facebook link, but I'm not signed in, so I wasn't able to read it.
He sold 234,424 shares in
wow.
TKO Group Holdings. That's all of his holdings.
Yeah.
And Vince McMahon also sold all the last of his shares today too.
That's so weird. That's such a weird move to do for like the sitting president.
It doesn't make any sense. So right now he's still in position. Like there's no.
Yeah, 'cause it's not like he's losing his position in the company, but it's still weird to cash out on the company that you're like. You'd think if you were going to help make the company more profitable, you would want to keep your shares because they would only go up in value. I mean, even just selling them all, like that's the thing that's really weird too. Is like he just sold all. I mean, it's just crazy. And there's not a lot of info on it either because it's like it's literally just it's all just breaking now.
Yeah, it's all breaking. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here, but
Can you not hear yourself? Can you hear me?
My headphones are being weird.
Yeah, naturally. That's all right. But yeah, it's Vince selling his shares. I'm not 100%.
I'll figure it out as I go along. It doesn't matter.
Vince selling his shares. I'm not exactly. I mean, I was gonna. I could talk. If you need some time, I don't mind. I'm a talker. It's all right. But Vince selling his shares. I'm not surprised about. Like I knew it was eventually coming. And it's. You could make the argument that it's for getting out, like, he's just trying to get out of the business. The guy's, a million years old. I'm sure he probably wants to ride off into the sunset. Me being the having the thirst for the story, I would love to see him just try to create another promotion and see who actually is slimy enough to go work for him if they throw. But it's like, it's almost like the Live Golf Tour where he's going to like create a promotion. Maybe he actually will create a promotion with Saudis, and they'll just be $1 gajillion between the two of them. And they'll just throw billions at like top superstars to like go wrestle in like freaking Jeddah and other crazy places like that. Like just for kicks and giggles, just to see if he can like outdo the WWE right before he dies or something. You know what I mean? It's that'd be a crazy story.
I don't think he can. And B, I just don't.
I don't think anybody would work for him.
Right. That's what, especially right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's all too fresh and we don't even know the whole story yet. It'd be way too early to do that.
It is funny, the speculation on that, though. I've seen multiple articles that, and it is all just speculation, but so many articles of people, just saying, what if he does? What if he does? And it's, I don't know. I in my my stomach, I don't buy it, but it would be a great story. Oh, muted. He's pulling the cord. I also do want to mention that, and this is one where I don't take great pride in being clairvoyant when it comes to some of these things. But I mean, we literally had mentioned how we were hitting the time of the year for releases and how the releases would happen. And they happened literally as we went off air. We went off air and within an hour, there were 6 releases. And in my opinion, like, yeah, Jinder Mahal is a big name to a degree. He was a former WWE champion, but it wasn't anybody shocking.
Wasn't anybody big.
No.
Wasn't anybody big at all. But they did release some names. It was weird timing, though, because literally, 10 minutes after we got off air?
Yeah, it was during SmackDown, so it was really weird for them to do it in that way. And they, it was said that they handled it better than they had in the past, but telling talent during the middle of a show, I think it was weird. It was weird timing all around. And then the story with Cameron Grimes is also, kind of shitty. the way that's seemingly gone down too. So I'm hoping that there's something else in his future with the WWE that's not maybe as a wrestler. Supposedly his product, like he was kind of producing a lot of the Logan Paul stuff. He worked with Logan Paul in ring in some of the spots, especially for the triple threat match, and then was also in Gorilla for the triple threat match at WrestleMania. I'd like to think maybe they'll bring him back on as a producer if he's willing to go that route. But it is really sad. I don't know if you saw what he's claiming anyway, but he's claiming that they said he had a job there for life, and then 2 hours later he was fired. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Or 2 days later. Yeah, in his interview that he did with I think it was Busted Open, he said that they had told him that he was he had a job for life or something to that effect, that he would, he had job security, and then he was, released 2 days after that.
That's crazy. I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
And it sucks because he was big in the NXT. And then, you have Baron Corbin, who kind of stole a couple of his gimmicks. And, he name drops Baron Corbin. There were a couple issues that he had with Baron that some things that Baron Corbin had said, I guess, to him, one in ring, one about like, oh, I stole your gimmick, doing like the Happy Corbin, winning the lottery kind of thing. Cause it's kind of what Grimes was doing. And they couldn't do that when he was called up to the main roster, obviously, because they'd already done the JBL Big Rich kind of thing. And then the Baron Corbin attaching JBL. So,
but the Cameron Grimes thing was also very topical at the time. Like it was COVID. It was when everybody was getting money off of crypto. Yeah. And then it kind of crashed. So it was time to change anyway, I think, for him.
Yeah, but he never really caught on with the WWE and he on the main roster. And I guess, he said he pitched a bunch of ideas. They always said, well, we're working on it. And then from what he's saying, they pulled the rug out from underneath him. So
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, I don't know how far he would have gone. I don't think he's like a world champ, but it still would have been.
Yeah, I was never a really big fan of him. So I'm not as a talent or a wrestler. I'm not really, I don't want to say sad to see him go, but I was indifferent. But the story kind of does suck, and that's what kind of makes you just wonder a little bit about how some things are still going. Because he said it was a top executive that told him that he would have a job for life, or that he was secure, and they canned him shortly after.
Sucks, but business is the business, I guess. Did you also see that Dominic Mysterio's having Tommy John surgery?
Yeah, I saw that. Super weird to see.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, I
didn't see where it came from. I don't know if it was a match or.
Sorry, I just heard a squealing. I was making sure it wasn't my dog. But yeah, it was the Andrade match. I don't know the spot exactly, but they said it was a freak accident in the Andrade match where he tore his UCL. So it is crazy. Granted though, I'm a huge baseball fan. I hear Tommy John and I wince because it means, they're gone for 2 years. But in this sense, he's probably only out 6 months ish, something like that. So and he'll be back, and supposedly they're gonna keep him on TV.
Yeah, because they don't really rely on him in the ring anyway. He's there to get cheap heat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
He's not. It's nothing like special. But yeah, I thought that was crazy. And then while we're talking about injuries, Tony Khan, all right. So I love kayfabe, and he's selling the Meltzer driver that he took, or the Indy driver, whatever they call it now. It used to be the Meltzer driver, but
I think that's what they're still calling it.
All right, good. He took a Meltzer driver after Jungle Boy came back, and then now he's on the NFL draft with a neck brace.
That was great seeing him in the war room with a neck brace on.
If you're gonna wear a neck brace, then don't do shit with your body that would require your neck to be fully healthy.
Yeah,
like he's moving all around. It didn't, you know what I mean? It looked ridiculous because he kept doing whatever he wanted without wincing or anything like that. Like it looks stupid.
The whole spot, I think, was ridiculous. If we're being honest, it could potentially work well if they do it, if they nail it, which I don't have faith that they're going to do. I just think it's crazy that, initially he was not going to be an on-screen personality, and I don't know if it's his ego or if it's, fear of ratings, or fear of, losing the locker room or losing it even more. But I don't think there's any need to have him as an on-screen personality. He's already put himself out there too much. I mean, granted, it'd be funny if now Jinder Mahal makes his way to AEW after the whole spiel between him and Tony Khan. But that's just another thing where it's like Tony, he does things that don't make sense, and he doesn't just let the product speak for itself. He doesn't need to speak for the product, but he does anyway.
Yeah, he does it all the time. It's not great. I don't know. I don't see how this could be good without being a WWE ripoff.
Yeah, it's basically what this is becoming. I mean, it's just him being a Vince McMahon-like character. Granted, it's laughable because neither the Jungle Boy, Matt and or the Jacksons, none of them are likable. Like, they're not. There's no sympathy for them, but nobody is also really sympathetic towards Tony Khan. And what this was, I think, was just to gain some sympathy for Tony, to kind of, just to make things, I don't know, man. It's just, they were trying to gain some sympathy for Tony Khan, and it missed the mark by a mile because people still don't like him and thought it was more funny than anything else. It did nobody any favors.
No, it was corny. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't anything nobody wanted to see this. Like,
no.
And they're trying to get Jungle Boy heat, and like they're trying to make him a big deal. Listen, Jungle Boy's not gonna be a fucking star. Like, stop it. Nobody believes. There's not a wrestling fan in the world that has that's not like ridiculous, and just like an AEW fanboy that actually believes that Jungle Boy is gonna be a bona fide star. They have one star in that company. That's MJF.
Yep.
That's it.
One organic star.
And they should have Adam Page, but they dropped the ball on him.
Yeah. In another life, when I used to talk to Mike about wrestling, I had really high hopes for Adam Page, and I love that they gave him a chance to hold that championship. But they dropped the bag with him. I mean, we can get into it too. Like, I also, Samoa Joe losing the title to Swerve Strickland, to me, just feels like they're trying so hard to create superstars that they can push, and they keep missing the mark. I don't know why they can't develop these guys, but the only two, in my opinion, stars that have come from AEW that are organic stars, MJF and Britt Baker. Those are the only two that organically got, I don't want to say over, because Britt was never necessarily over, but she had mega heat. She had mega heat, though. Like, her, like, DMD, like, her shtick worked. And I think those are the only two organic AEW stars that got over, and both of them are MIA.
Because who else is their big star?
Exactly. John Moxley.
And John Moxley is not homegrown talents.
Nope. Like, Chris Jericho.
Right.
Will Ospreay. I mean.
Right. So Jericho captured the FTW title. You saw this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fans started to boo him out of the building.
Yeah, telling him to retire. And not for nothing, but this new stable that he's creating, is it not just the same stable that he's created for a third time, just with a different name? There was a Jericho Appreciation Society that was just all about how great he was. And now it's like, he's going to teach guys, he's going to take guys under his wing, but like, that's basically the same thing that you've already done. Like, how many times are you going to try to spin shit into gold or spit in my face and call it rain? It is crazy that they're doing this again.
This is what happens when you let the wrestlers run the business.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, this is exactly what happens. Like, this is the third reincarnation of this group that can't get over. Was he going to add one person different? You know what I mean?
And now it's they call him Big Bill. He'll always be Cass to me, though.
Cass?
Big Cass. That guy has a lot of talent, man. He's just never connected well with the fans. Like, I kind of love
charisma.
Well, that's why I loved Enzo and Big Cass. Like, that was just such a great tag team, because you had the small little mouthpiece like rat guy, and then this big dude who was just a meat puppet. You know what I mean?
Right. And it worked. I mean, it did work. Big Cass got the hot tag, beat everybody up, and Enzo got the finish.
Yep.
It was, that was NXT in its prime, too, by the way.
Yeah, it was. I
He
still
did
sometimes
not.
I like Enzo's still real or whatever he is now. What does he call himself? The real one or something like that. I forget what he's changed to,
Yeah,
what his thing is now. But he's kind of a
it is.
hoot. His promo, his chops were so good. He everybody knows, like, it's this thing now, and he goes on this huge spiel. He's kept himself relevant, so I give him a lot of credit for it. But I do miss that tag team. I had a lot of fun watching them.
They were a good tag team. I couldn't stand Enzo though.
Really? Oh, I loved it. I loved the little guy.
I mean, I saw the appeal. You know what I mean? Like he was fun. He had those little catchphrases. Couldn't wrestle a lick in the ring, but could take a bump.
He wasn't bad, but yeah, he was bigger. He was best at taking
Right.
bumps. That was his thing. Yeah.
He was good at selling.
Yeah.
Remember
Sometimes
that
that's all you need to do.
that nasty concussion? Who were they facing, dude? It was on a pay-per-view, and he just hit the second rope and went out.
Oh yeah. I'm
You
never
hear that,
gonna
Joe?
remember. I'm never gonna remember who they were wrestling, so I'd be lying if I said any tag team right now. But I remember the spot. I remember it well because it was really bad.
Yeah, he went out. Like he was out cold. That was one of the craziest things I've seen as a wrestling fan. Like,
yeah,
as far as in-ring injuries like that.
I'm surprised
like,
that doesn't happen more often.
Dude, the way he hit those ropes, he was out before he even hit the mat.
Yep.
He hit
Whiplash.
Oh, it was so crazy, dude. It was crazy. But that was the only thing that was worth watching in AEW was the Meltzer driver to Tony Khan. That's how we got into all this. And it wasn't even worthwhile. It was just like the most talked about segment on this show. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't even say worthwhile. I mean, because everyone knew they were gonna bring Perry back, and it was just. I mean, what are we doing? You know, at least they're not still kind of like pushing the CM Punk narrative, and they're trying to get away from it. But I just still think bringing Tony Khan as an on-screen personality and trying to gain him sympathy is a really bad way to go about this.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense. And if they're gonna go with the scapegoat thing, then they're gonna be ripping off Punk for months, and then it's gonna wear out.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, stop talking about it. Like, stop talking about it.
Make your own storylines.
Right? Nobody wants to hear it. Like, we don't care. We don't want to hear it. Like, the problem is they appeal to such a small audience that they just keep trying to appeal to the audience that they already have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't see the big picture. There's a lot of different wrestling fans out there, not just the hardcore indie ones that are going to watch your show. You have to do something to get our attention, like, and keep it. I'll watch it. I try to watch it because some of the names on there, like, you know what I mean? Like, they have some big names. They just fail to produce anything good. And
I will say,
having Samoa Joe lose
this early in his title reign, I think, is crazy. And like, Swerve Strickland's a great wrestler. I don't watch AEW that much. Like, I don't know his whole shtick in AEW. But for me as an outsider, if you're trying to get my attention, like, yeah, you got my attention to go, wow, Samoa Joe lost to Swerve Strickland. Like, cool. I'm not going to watch. Like, I'm still not going to watch. It's just not like, it just doesn't do it for me. Like, that's not, I don't know. And I hate that, like, you know, one thing I saw was AEW is still a fledgling company, in my opinion. Like, yeah, they've been around for like 4 or 5 years, but one thing that drives me nuts is like, it's, and I guess for the fans that are fans of AEW, it is great to see champion, you know, person of color champion, you know, that's one thing they kept pushing, first black AEW champion. That's great. Company's only been around for 4 or 5 years. So it's like they keep pushing this, like, oh, like they did 2 or 3 years ago, they did like a review, like they always refer to like the history of AEW, and they do all this like crap. It like they've been around for, they don't have a history.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts. Like I'm all for especially because wrestling has been very one-sided in the racial wars when it comes to championships. And
to be fair, though, up until recent history, that's kind of the population that went into wrestling.
There were wrestlers that deserved it that didn't get opportunities. Like I still will bat for Bobby Lashley. I think he should have gotten more opportunities in his first run in the WWE, because they made it work with MVP, and they never tried something like that with him in his first run. if you don't think he can connect with the fans, give him a manager and just let that man wrestle. Because
They did give him a manager for a while, though, didn't they?
I don't remember if they did. I don't remember who it was, and they didn't make the right
I thought
choice,
he did
in my
have
opinion.
one. I thought he did have one for a little while because he held the ECW title, right? He did.
Yes, yeah, he did. Yeah,
he did, and he had a manager for a little while whether he was there. I don't remember who it was, but Bobby Lashley. I think what turned everybody's eyes to how good Bobby Lashley was when he got to TNA and they gave him every title.
Yeah. That's what they should have done in the WWE. Like that dude was a monster.
So he's a monster, but he's a monster among monsters. You know what I mean?
Yes and no.
In TNA, he's the biggest dog in the yard. In WWE, he's another big dude.
I still think they could have built him
and
up better.
His personality didn't really come through when he was with WWE.
That was the biggest thing is he was very stale. He was very stale. His personality.
He's a lot different now this time around.
Yeah, and they really hit with the almighty gimmick. But I feel like, AEW is just they always try to be so ahead of the curve and so edgy and so this and that. And it's like you guys have only been around for a short time. Like, focus on the product and stop trying to deliver the first this and remember when we did that. Like, yeah, we do because it was 2 years ago. And
that's what their fans want, though. Their hardcore fans are some. I'm just gonna put it out there. I got into an argument with one on Facebook last week before. It was about something stupid too, and he ended up commenting on our Facebook and all that shit. He got real petty. It was hilarious. I can't stand AEW fans. Like the hardcore nut jobs, they're so annoying because then it's AEW does nothing wrong and WWE does nothing right. Still, I don't get it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Sorry.
No, I'm good. But they, those rabid fans, that's what they appeal to, and that's the only reason that their viewership is down again this week.
So bad. And I get it too, because I'm definitely, what they'd consider a hater, but I wouldn't consider myself a WWE shill either. Like, I don't hate on AEW because I love WWE so much. Like, I'm indifferent either way. I enjoy watching the WWE. I know the product better, but I don't watch AEW because just none of it's interesting to me. They try so hard to be just an authentic wrestling brand, but
I bought the first 2 years of pay-per-views for that company. I did. I loved AEW. I love the Young Bucks. I have their books. They're boring. I don't want to waste my time. I have other stuff to do. You know what I mean? There's other stuff. There's other stuff to watch. There's sports to watch. There's other stuff. It's not a good product. I'll watch the WWE because right now they're putting on a hell of a product. For a while, I was just watching NXT because it was just the best product.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch good wrestling when it's good wrestling. When it's not, I mean, one of their first pay-per-views, they said an exploding ring match, and then they had sparklers.
Yeah.
That was kind of tough to defend.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that well.
That was tough to defend, and they haven't really rebounded since then. They've never gained momentum.
Well, the crazy thing was their whole shtick was no gimmicks. We're not going to do any gimmicks. It's just real authentic wrestling. And then they
were going to be Japanese style of promotion, which was not going to work.
And they realized in America, American fans want gimmicks. I mean, even look at Prince Devitt.
Look at the UFC. No matter what you watch, you want personalities.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Even in New Japan, there's still personality, and so there's still gimmicks in those stars. Right. Finn Balor was so over. The demon character came from his work in New Japan because he had the freedom to do he did the Joker,
every
persona
big show
kind of thing.
They got a different persona.
Yeah, and I think that's where AEW missed the mark. They didn't want to be the gimmicky place for gimmicky wrestlers, and then you see Abaddon, and it's okay, well, that's a pretty big gimmick, man. You know what I mean?
Luchasaurus.
And not for nothing,
you have a character dressed like a dinosaur,
and a character like Rosemary in TNA, those characters work. Or Sume, I think, was the other one, the Japanese superstar who was also I forget what they call that type of horror, but those type of gimmicks work. Not necessarily saying Abaddon works or doesn't work. I don't.
There's a bunch of weirdos that watch wrestling. They will love that shit.
You need weirdness. You need like I will talk about this at the end of the earth. Like two of the, and I'll say three, even though Kane's, probably not. Kane is, I think, is under as he's one of the biggest underrated superstars of all time. But two of the biggest superstars, Kane, huh? I really do. I actually, all right. So taking a hard left turn on off ramp here, I found a channel on YouTube, and I say found, it has like 1.6 million followers, but it's called Brothers of Destruction 22. And it's just all Kane and Undertaker, like snippets and matches. And I was probably about an hour. I was just going through it, and I had to get up early for work the next morning. And I was like, I have to go to bed. Like I could literally sit here and just comb through this for hours. I even watched earlier. I watched the A&E. The A&E did like a little behind the wrestling of Kane's like how that, like them coming up with the Kane character, and how how big they realized that was going to be when they finally got a superstar that could match the size and the ferocity and that fear level that the Undertaker had, and that whole thing. So I'll defend Kane at the end of my day.
That was what the Undertaker needed at that time.
Yeah. It gave him more juice. It gave him sympathy. It gave him, like, a lot of people kind of were like, oh my God, like the Undertaker, like he could die. Like he could be like, this guy could kill him. Like it was a whole thing. But you need that in wrestling. It can't always just be Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson. Yes. Like everyone wants to see great wrestling, but I also want to be entertained, and like, you need weird shit. It's not always going to work, but like, look at the Firefly Funhouse, man. That was one of the hottest things to happen at a really crappy point in WWE. I would tune into WWE just to see what Bray Wyatt was going to do, and then I was done.
Right.
Because there was nothing else nothing else worth watching. Like sometimes you just need that weird shit to keep people invested in that, in the middle, the stuff in between what you're doing at the beginning of the show and the end of the show.
You need the mid-card.
Yes, you always need the mid card, especially on Fridays.
The most important part of any card.
Yes,
it doesn't. What people don't realize, because you're always going to start with a banger, right? Like you always want to start the show hot.
Yep,
and then you always end with your biggest match. But the mid card is like, this is why we named it the mid card in the first place. But you're talking Eric Bischoff with all the cruiserweights. You know what I mean? Like the Intercontinental title. The U.S. title when it was with WCW.
The USA Heavyweight Championship.
Right.
That was a really good match, actually. It was Steiner and
the tag team champs. Like, they're all mid-card titles. They all mean something. Sometimes they carry your show.
Yeah.
You need that. You know what I mean?
Especially the tag team division, because that's how you get more people on TV as well.
And that was another thing that AEW promised they were going to bring back and make it more important than anything else on their roster was tag team wrestling. And they did it for a little while. And now it's just shitty.
I'll be honest. I don't even know who the AEW Tag Team Champions are right now. That weird timing that we both, like, I saw you like grab your cup and I was like, oh, I could actually use a sip of water too. Not realizing I was about to take a sip at the exact same time.
That's funny. It wasn't FTR. I think they just lost. I think it's the Young Bucks.
Oh, it's the Young Bucks. Yeah, because that's the whole thing. Yeah. Because they did the ladder match at Dynasty, which for all intents and purposes actually was a really good match. But that's obviously expected between those two. They're great tag teams.
Right. But I'm not saying that the Young Bucks can't wrestle or anything. I love the Young Bucks. I'm just saying as a show, they shouldn't be running. Yeah. They shouldn't be running a wrestling show.
Yeah, I agree. There's a reason that the WWE champion who started that company with the Young Bucks at some point was like, this ain't it.
How bad is that when one of your creators leaves?
I'm gonna go to the other. I'm gonna go back to the place I swore I'd never go back to, and now he's literally the hottest wrestler in WWE. He's the biggest draw outside of CM Punk, which is still crazy to say.
They dropped the ball with him because he didn't get when they first started. He shouldn't have been the first AEW champ.
I was about to argue that.
You can't come out and say that Cody Rhodes can never compete for your world title. Like it makes that mid-card title worth something. Like that TNT championship was cool.
Yes, yeah, he did. He elevated that mid-card
That was
championship.
better than the world title at one
But
point.
the issue though is the TNA fans turned on Cody Rhodes. People were, he was starting to get some hate from those hardcore wrestling fans that were watching AEW, and I
because
think
he was too WWE for them.
Yeah, he got the tattoo on his neck, and they hated the song, which not for nothing, like that song's freaking iconic. Like I remember, and this is kind of going back, and it's a little fuzzy, but I remember people actually slamming him online for getting his own song. Like people were mad because like Chris Jericho had Judas, and that was the whole. And I will say I've gotten goosebumps watching Jericho come to the ring and just having
now it's corny.
Tens of thousands of people singing the song from start to finish. I think is crazy.
It's cool when it's done in the moment and it's like it means something. But when you do it every time, I lose interest. But
it's just Cody gets a song and people instantly turn on him, and it blows my mind. I just think it says something when one of your EVPs, one of the guys that helped create the show and push it forward and was instrumental in its creation, just splits and goes back to the other guy. And gets instantly pushed in the main card. Now,
pushed and I'll to the moon, too.
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to tell you when AEW was created, I was pissed because I thought Cody was going to get the championship, and I'm like, great, like Cody created his own promotion just so he could get a championship and rub it in WWE's face, and I thought it was real big of him to not push himself as the top guy on the show. I was expecting it eventually, but I thought it was very big of him to not just be like, all right, I'm the champion.
Right, but they took that chase away from us, too.
Yeah.
They said Cody can never compete for a world title again. Ever?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And like, I know in wrestling, this stuff doesn't mean anything. Like the Undertaker is never going to wrestle again.
Just
Shawn Michaels. Yeah. Shawn Michaels is never going to wrestle again. Like, like they always come back.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can say you're never going to get a world title shot again, but then you're going to get one. But when you get one, then everybody's pissed that you just went back on what you said.
Unrelated Pats are back on the clock.
Are they? Oh,
that's what I keep looking over at because they traded the 34th for a fourth. They traded to the Chargers their 34th for the 37th and a fourth round, and they gave up a fifth.
That's pretty.
So I'm interested who they
like.
Yeah, or who they thought was still gonna be available at 37 for them to.
We get the WWE draft soon too.
Yeah, that one's gonna be pretty good too.
That's not tonight, right?
Nope, starts tonight. 8:00 on SmackDown.
Oh, it does start tonight.
Starts tonight, ends on Monday.
Maybe we should do another mid-card to break down the draft.
Yeah, we might have to.
That's big. You know what I mean? Because I feel like they're gonna shake some stuff up.
You'd imagine, and I love they've already set in stone champions on each brand cannot be moved.
Yes,
like that should be a given. No. Whoa, all right.
Wait, I like.
Yeah, and I don't. I think it's dumb. If you have a set champion on a brand, there's no way
that title goes with that guy. You don't get that title back. You draft the other champion. He takes that title with you.
I think
you can't just exchange titles, but.
Yeah, I've talked about that on the show before. That was the worst thing the WWE had ever done, and I think Charlotte and Becky Lynch would also agree. But in my opinion, especially now,
like the tag titles too.
Yeah, like they just created new championships for each show specifically, which
I can't wait to see that new SmackDown title.
I was almost right. I was almost right about
those things. Look gorgeous.
Yes, they do.
They look like the old school tag team titles.
Yeah, from the early 2000s.
They're perfect.
Which firmly makes me believe that Cody Rhodes is going to get a Winged Eagle championship at some point.
I think it's coming soon. I think it's after his first title defense.
It's possible, yeah.
I think he gets one defense in, and then they change the title.
Oh, you know what else I saved, too, that I thought was pretty cool is, let me pull it up, but AJ Styles, to kind of color in how good AJ Styles actually is. Let me pull it up here. Where did I?
One of the greatest in-ring performers of all time.
Hold on. Pause.
That dude was so good. Did you also see that Matt Hardy came back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to get to that too. Yeah, I want to get to that too. But so Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
I mean, not Cody Rhodes. AJ Styles. Roman Reigns' first challenger after WrestleMania 32 and winning WWE Championship. AJ Styles. Seth Rollins, first challenger after WrestleMania 35. AJ Styles.
Right.
Cody Rhodes, first challenger after WrestleMania 40. AJ Styles. He is so good that the company repeatedly puts him in the first major feud with their new champions because of how good he makes other people look.
Exactly. Because he makes the champion look like a champion.
Yep.
He gives you a great match. You get eyes on it because everybody wants to watch AJ wrestle.
Yep.
Like that dude is unreal, dude. He was unreal in TNA, New Japan, and this run in WWE has been incredible, too. I'm sad it's coming to an end soon. Like we don't have much AJ left, I don't think.
I would love to see him get one more title run too. I really would. I just don't think it's in the cards. It's not happening now.
It's not going to happen right now. Well, depends on if he gets drafted somewhere.
I mean, that would be really crazy if they have him as the number one contender for SmackDown and he gets drafted to Raw.
Right.
And then how they'd work that out. But I don't see it happening. But I saw that and I thought it was really interesting.
That was cool.
Yeah, they clearly trust him to put over newly crowned champions after WrestleMania.
Yeah, there's no other way around it. You're absolutely
right. Him and Seth Rollins. I mean, they're two of I think the best wrestlers in the business, at least in the sense of, it's almost like the Brady effect, where Brady made other wide receivers better. Those two guys make other wrestlers better because of how well they can work in the ring.
Yeah, they make them look like $1 million every time.
Yeah.
I can't tell you a bad AJ Styles match.
Nope. Even against John Cena. Against John Cena at SummerSlam.
Whoa. Let's not. John Cena should not be taking strays. I like John Cena.
I'm not saying he's. I just think that John Cena got very formulaic with his matches, and it was the and when he wrestled AJ Styles at SummerSlam, I saw him do stuff that I can tell you he's never done in a ring before.
And I think he faced Kevin Owens.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's again, it's a testament to AJ Styles more than I think John Cena got to a point where he didn't fully trust other wrestlers that he was working with, so he did what he knew he could do without hurting other people. And then when you work with a guy who you can trust can do things, when you see it with something like a choke slam, because I've just been watching a bunch of Kane stuff. Some guys, when Kane goes for the choke slam, it looks really bad because they don't time the jump right. They don't jump with Kane. They can't jump high enough to get height. Because, obviously, again, we're all adults here. Apologies to if you're not an adult. But, he's obviously not grabbing you by the jugular and picking you up by your throat. It's just not what's happening.
Right.
And, you get some guys who can't sell it and don't jump high enough. And it's really low and it looks bad. And you get some people who jump 20 feet in the air. And you see Kane sometimes where his hand is so high up above his head, so it's some
guys make it look really clean.
Yeah. And I think AJ is, Shawn Michaels is one of those guys. Shawn Michaels could overdo it as we've seen, but those guys are super important where they can make the other guy just look so good.
That Shawn Michaels Hulk Hogan SummerSlam match in Boston was one of the funniest things of all time.
Greatest things ever.
You don't want to lose to me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm gonna oversell everything.
Yep. I'm gonna flail around like a wacky waving inflatable arm.
A little taste of what the old Shawn Michaels was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was still just that last ounce of go F yourself.
Yep. Like screw youism.
Right. That was good. Matt Hardy went back to TNA, the broken Matt gimmick, which has been dead for since
years.
Since
he signed back with WWE.
Right. Because then they went to the woke one, and that was awful.
Because I think he didn't. Well, what was the whole thing? I think he didn't want to give them the rights to the broken character, or TNA still technically had rights to it, and there was a big fight over it, so they just called him broken instead of woken.
The thing with the broken stuff, I don't know. Did you watch TNA when that went down?
When he was broken Matt, I'm thinking of woken was what they called him in WWE.
Woken.
Yeah.
The broken stuff in TNA.
Yeah, I had tuned into TNA to catch a good portion of what was going on because I just thought it was so good.
I used to watch TNA on the regular. I don't get it on TV anymore, so I can't watch it, unfortunately.
Pats took Jalen Polk, by the way. Washington wideout. that's
Yeah.
not the right show for it. But I know we're both Pats fans here, and
Yeah. I mean, they need a wide receiver. They got
yes,
a
they
quarterback.
do.
So they need more help. They're gonna. Hopefully, they can draft offensive line next round. But
I thought they'd do it now.
yeah, I mean, now would be the time because there's not much left. But they might see different value. Like this draft has been weird. But the broken stuff in TNA, I watched it. I used to. My buddy Cody, actually, he started the Midcard with me and Scott. We got together and watched every installment of it. Like when it would come out the next day, we'd get together and watch it, dude. It was so bad, it was good.
Exactly.
It was so corny that it was perfect, and it was like I remember the first time I watched it, I'm like, I don't get it. Like I don't get it. What the hell's going on? And then I watched Colt Cabana react to it, and I thought it was great. I'm a big Colt Cabana guy. I know my buddies always bust my balls to pick a side between him and Punk. I can't do it, dude. I love both of those dudes. You know what I mean? Like I don't care what happened. Whatever happened between them. He got nothing to do with me. So like, but Colt Cabana, like it was the funniest reaction video I've ever seen. And I just remember like the broken thing being so cheesy, and then the drones and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
There's no need to relive it.
The lake of deletion.
Oh, dude.
Reincarnating Jeff into Brother Nero.
Oh, dude. It was so good.
Yeah.
And then his gardener, like,
yes,
it was so good. Everything was perfect. It was so cheesy, dude. I don't want to see them rehash it though. It's been years. Why are we doing it again?
I mean, so from, and I actually kind of like that this tends to happen from the opposite argument, the opposite perspective, because I am here for it in the sense that,
well, this is what wrestling's all about.
Yeah. But not only that, but I mean, AEW is fumbling the bag right now. Yes. And I'm not saying that TNA is going to rise up to compete with the WWE, but I mean, the TNA is still around.
TNA was closer to WWE in their hot times than AEW ever was.
Yep.
I watched TNA Lockdown in Lowell, Massachusetts when it was Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. That was one of the best live pay-per-views I've ever been a part of. And I've been to a lot. You know what I mean? Like TNA was different. That's the big thing. Like they were different.
They tried.
They had the 8-sided ring.
Yep.
They had their high flyers that were going off crazy stuff. They had the X division that had no limits. Like they had like a bunch of cruiserweights and Samoa Joe, pretty much is what it was. that was their mid card. And then they had heavy hitters up top, but they also produced talent. Like they were able to produce like Eric Young's, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe's, like while having Kurt Angle, Booker T, Kevin Nash.
That's what you're supposed to do. But Abyss was another big one. Decay was huge. Yeah, Decay I think laid the groundworks for the Wyatt family, in my opinion. Like,
you're
right.
That
was a great tag, like a great stable, and I still think Rosemary's a great character.
If you're a wrestling company like Eric Bischoff always, and I'm a big Bischoff guy, but be different. You can't beat WWE at WWE's game. Nobody's gonna watch. We don't want to watch. I'll watch WWE. They have enough programming. WWE has 3 live shows a week on TV.
Actually, technically 4.
Yeah.
Speed.
I forget about that.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know what I mean? Like
Speed on X. Tell me that doesn't sound like something you shouldn't get into.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's probably something I got into in my 20s. You know what I mean? Like you got to be different. Like that was what made TNA so much fun. And like, I don't know. Are they back to the 8-sided ring yet?
I don't think so. But I just want to say I think this is a great segue into why I love the broken character coming back for maybe one more little cameo run. Because it's different. It was something we didn't see in the WWE. It was something ridiculous. And obviously, if you're a WWE fan, you don't have to tune into TNA. But guess what? If you want to see Matt Hardy portray a man who literally had a mental breakdown so bad that it turned half of his hair white, and his whole family went down with him, including his brother, who he cleansed in the lake outside of his house. Like you could tune into that. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's just something different and crazy that like gives you something to like look over for, and you might find something that you like. AEW still isn't giving me any of that. I mean, I don't care that Tony Khan, has a fake neck injury. Like we're not buying it, man.
TNA has one of the biggest kept secrets in pro wrestling. And I know it's not like a real kept secret with wrestling fans, but Moose.
I knew you were going to say Moose. That dude is an animal.
Moose should be.
Why it's called Moose.
Moose should be a world-renowned star.
Yeah.
Like he's got everything.
He's been with them for so long too.
Yeah, he has. And but TNA brings in like all these other, like they bring in Moose. They have Sammy Callahan that was a deathmatch guy. He does some entertaining stuff. I mean, I'm not
Sammy Callahan just came back too.
Yeah, I'm not like the biggest Sammy Callahan fan. NXT had him for a little while. I think they dropped the ball with him. But like he was, he's an interesting guy. He's different.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He's a lot different. AEW doesn't do that. Like they try to do like it just comes off corny and unnatural. Like I don't know. It seems forced.
I think this will probably be the last thing we should probably go on with AEW before we're hitting our limit. And I think there's still one big thing that we should talk about from Raw at least.
Yeah.
But I will say that and to kind of just keep burying AEW because apparently that's what we're doing now.
They just had a bad week and they deserve it.
But I just want to throw out too that I saw I'm a huge Kane fan. Jeff Hardy, obviously. Yeah, I put the Hardy Boys over my shoulder today. Yeah. I also grew up because I grew up in the time when the WCW was big, and as we clearly see, I like guys who paint their face or put masks on. So I was a huge Sting fan, and I don't remember Sting from the 90s and the late 90s when he was transitioning into the Crow character. I remember Sting for the Crow character who perched up in the rafters and was kind of the anti-hero to a degree, and I think that's a great character to have in a wrestling promotion is like an anti-hero that like does that you shouldn't cheer for but you kind of always do just because of who he is. And when he went to TNA, that was huge because it was Sting was the icon. He was one of the biggest stars in wrestling, and when WCW folded and he refused to go to the WWE, him popping up in another promotion on TV was huge. It was great to see him on TV. And then him coming to the WWE was like, oh my God, like he's in WWE finally. Like this is amazing. And Seth Rollins almost killed him. The fact that like, I love that AEW brought him back, but they leaned on him so much. And it's another thing to say like, guys, like not for nothing. This has been done before. A few times in 3 promotions. Like it's great to see him back, but like using him as like your staple, like this is been done before, and it's just another thing that I think is
they desperately need MJF back.
Yeah, really bad.
Like that's their star. They need him back because he makes everybody better on that roster.
And then I can't wait to see him pop up in WWE to take on Cody Rhodes.
Eventually, that's going to happen. I think.
I'd love it.
I mean, why not? Your best friend's there. All right, let's get to Raw. All right, so I think the big news coming out of it is Becky Lynch winning the title. I don't love this.
What a safe play by them, huh? They
dropped the ball. I think
this was I think one of the worst Triple H bookings I think since he's taken over. Why wouldn't you take this opportunity to build up a new star or even like Liv right now is gonna like not real heat, obviously, like we talked about it, but like Liv just threw herself into a huge conversation. Like, why would you not put the belt on Liv? To give it back to Becky, the belt on Liv. To give it back to Becky is such a safe play to me that I didn't.
Especially since she just lost.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
She
just lost.
It was a
dumb move. This was the first time I've ever looked at a Triple H booking, and I was like, "Oh man, you missed the mark."
Yeah, like you guys really couldn't think of anything else that you could have done, so you just made the safe play and gave it to Becky again. It's just it's crazy to me. Why you wouldn't just like if we're trying new things, like why not try something new? And if you put it on someone and it doesn't work out, then they lose.
Right. But at least you tried, and we didn't get the same thing. Like I'm over Becky Lynch. I don't really care for her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Becky Lynch fan, but I don't need to see her win any more championships.
No, there's no point. You know what I mean? Unless like, she gets hot or whatever it is. Like in the terms of wrestling wise, like with fans, you can always catch hot at like a random time. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's when you get the titles. But
the issue is that it's Liv.
Yeah, right. Like, that's Liv right now.
That's what Liv is right now. She was the obvious.
They could have kept the title on her literally until Rhea came back.
Yeah. Yep.
That would have solved your problem.
The only thing I could think of is they just don't trust Liv as either a wrestler or to carry the title for a long period of time. Like my guess is that they want someone to carry the title until Rhea Ripley's back, and Becky's the only one who they think can probably do that long term. If I had to guess,
I think eventually they're giving it to Liv, though. I think they have to.
I hope so. Like I hope that's in the cards.
I would think it might be at Backlash,
but I don't know if you could I don't know if I could believably see Liv beating Becky. Like you know what I mean? Like that's a tough sell for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Becky's as hot as she used to be. So I think like they could sneak a Liv win it. You know, she could even win by like a school boy or something.
And I think it'd have to be something underhanded. Yeah. That's the only way. It'd have to be a heel finish.
Or if you want to build Liv up, then she gets a clean pin.
Yeah.
You know? Just make it.
I mean that
All right, this is our new star. That's how you make stars. You give them wins like that, but it's got to be. It should be Liv. There's no reason why it's not Liv.
I agree. I it was an awful choice. Or, I mean, I think Jade's on SmackDown now, but or you just put the title on Jade. I mean,
I don't think they're ready for that.
I don't care. They weren't ready for any of this, and none of this was supposed to happen. You know what I mean? So you might as well do it. It's kind of how I feel about the Red Sox. Like you need a shortstop, call up Marcelo May, or I don't care if he's ready or not. You need a shortstop, play him. Like I don't care if she's ready or not. Like she's supposed to be the baddest person on the on the show. But instead they have her in a new trio with Naomi and Bianca Belair, which I think they're gonna try to do to build her as a face and squeeze some sales and merch sales out of her as a face, and then eventually she'll turn heel on Bianca, and that sets up a huge showdown between the two and gives her mega heat. But kind of getting off topic, but that seems to happen a lot.
Yeah, but no, we're talking about what they could do with the title. You know what I mean? So it is.
Yeah,
it's in the scope. Did you like the Chad Gable finishing his heel turn?
I actually did. I thought it was sold really well too by Akira Tozawa, maybe not so much, but Otis, playing just kind of the blind follower, and then honestly, Maxine Dupree or Maxine, whatever her last whatever the last name is, she sold that so well. I think she plays the I don't really fit in or belong here, but I'm still kind of here, so I'm just trying my best. And she played the scared, I don't know what I'm doing here, but this is scary to me, but I'm just going to go along with what everyone else is doing because this is who I've aligned with. Her facial expressions I thought were really good. Otis played into it really well. Akira Tozawa is kind of just there. Gable was
was great. He was great. He delivered.
Yeah.
This was his moment. He delivered.
That guy he should beat Sammy for the Intercontinental Championship at some point. He needs a title. I think that dude deserves a title run.
I think with how well he's delivered all this, I think you have to.
Mm-hmm.
And he's that Intercontinental title is the workhorse title.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He is a workhorse. He's good in the ring. It's just he never had a personality before. Now it seems like he found something.
Yeah. Multiple times. He's reinvented his character multiple times. He's carried a tag team division. He's been in phenomenal tag teams. I mean, Jason Jordan, got
that's what it was. Jason Jordan.
Yeah, he got
was it American Alphas?
Yeah, American Alphas.
What a tag team they were.
Yeah, they were really good.
Obviously,
unfortunately, Jason Jordan obviously had the neck injury, and he's now
runs in the family, dude. His dad has neck problems too.
Yeah, broken freaking neck.
What a stupid storyline that was.
He's got he's I've said it for a while. I thought he deserved a main roster championship.
Yeah, I could see it. Well, then Intercontinental title makes sense for him. It makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
Why not? That's what that title's for. Is for guys like him. I wanted to get into Bash at the Beach, but we're gonna have to do that another time. Because we're not gonna have enough time to run through all of that.
Well, I guess for the last few minutes we could talk about just the ending of it. Probably one of the reasons why we're gonna bring up anyway.
So we're gonna do a segment where we're gonna just watch a random pay-per-view from a generator.
The only problem with this though is I talk a lot.
That's fine.
I talk over people a lot, and there's only one other person here, which I apologize for. So I apologize for making this a difficult segment to get to if it happens again. Like it's just...
No, we'll start out with it next time. There was just a lot of news that happened, so we had to get to it all.
It was a big week.
There was a lot, especially with the news breaking right before we got on.
Yeah.
Like what are you gonna do? We can't not talk about Nick Khan selling his stock. That's kind of a big deal. And Vince selling all his stock too. That's all a big deal. But so this one wasn't so random. I just watched Dark Side of the Ring. I don't know if you've ever watched that stuff on Vice. I can hear that too.
I've seen a couple episodes, but not something I watch frequently.
So it's something me and my friends watch like all the time, and we chat. We'll text about it all the time. And they had me sit back and watch a few of them because I didn't know the new season came out. And then I got into some of the older episodes, and one was Bash at the Beach 2000. And I was like, why would they do a fight? Because I don't remember it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't remember it as a kid. It was a very forgettable pay-per-view. I remember the Scott Hall stuff. That's the only stuff I remembered. But then I watched it, and they got into that might have been the final nail in the coffin for WCW for like a bunch of different reasons. But mostly what starts the show is Jeff Jarrett laying down for Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. I didn't realize this was the pay-per-view that was on initially. And then when I started looking into it, I was like, oh, okay. So this is why this was a thing. And I know of it. I just never fully looked into exactly what the deal was. Because I don't know because that was more shoot than it was actually a work, right?
Yes. So in that documentary, it's Russo and Bischoff telling their stories, which is crazy. So WCW hired Vince Russo to be the head of creative. He got fired. And then they brought him back. And they had Eric Bischoff, who got fired. They brought him back to oversee Vince Russo. And those two obviously just didn't, they just didn't get along. I don't know how many people get along with Vince Russo. But I like him. He's just kind of nuts.
Yeah.
He pitched an idea he wanted Booker T to win the title. That was his goal. Jarrett loses to Hogan. Jarrett beats Hogan early in the pay-per-view. Hogan looks like incredibly strong, but Jarrett still retains the title. And then later on that night, faces Booker T. Booker T gets a clean win. Booker T was hot at the time. Bischoff and Hogan just said, nope, we're not doing that. Like, that's a no. And then so I guess Russo rewrote the show like 3 different times. And then Hogan just kept saying, no, no, no. And then came up with an idea that was very similar to this, where Jarrett just laid down. What he didn't know was Vince Russo was going to go out there and make a huge spectacle of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because Jarrett was pissed because he didn't want to drop the title like that because he has respect for the business. And, like, what was he, 3rd generation?
Yeah,
so,
like that.
Like, he doesn't want to drop a title like that. That's bullshit. So he struggled with it, and then Vince Russo went out there and made a big thing and said, "You know why, Hulk Hogan?" and cut this scathing promo.
I did watch the promo. I definitely I watched the promo.
Hogan wasn't in the building. He waited till Hogan left.
Yeah,
and then just went out there and just laid into Hogan. Oh, we're
gonna call this the Hogan Memorial Championship,
right? Because that's not the real title. The real title's tonight. And it was like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, it was a weird thing. Because Bischoff and Hogan thought everything went off swimmingly and there wasn't going to be any issues. They didn't know that Russo was coming back out there. They had no idea. And eventually, at the end of the night, Booker T ends up beating Jeff Jarrett, just like Russo wanted to do all along, which was the right call. Booker T was the right guy at that time. But they were so contractually obligated towards Hulk Hogan, and that's Bischoff's boy. So whatever Hogan wants, Hogan got. It was just like, it was so strange. Hogan ends up like suing WCW for defamation of character. He loses. in a court because they say that you can't deflame a fictional character's character. You know what I mean? they were like, "What are you talking about?
Like,
it's a wrestling
real,
show.
man."
Right? And Hogan's like, "No, brother, you talk bad about me.
Let me tell you something, brother. I'm as real as it gets, brother." Like, all right. It's like, stop.
Right. So like they screwed that up. But like, man, that documentary was weird, and the show itself was so strange. Like you watched it. It was weird. We're gonna talk about it because like there's a lot to talk about in it. Holy shit, was it the weirdest pay-per-view of all time when I watched it back.
Yeah,
I
the
watched
bridal match.
that Dark Side of the Ring, and then I started to watch it, and it was right after I texted you about doing the segment, and then I was like, dude, let's just watch this.
And Booker T loses on the show. Like he literally loses before that.
Right.
I think he loses to I have to go back, but it wasn't Mike, was it? No, Buff Bagwell lost to Mike Awesome. It was
the Fat Chick Thriller, Mike Awesome.
It was Canyon. He lost to Canyon, to a Canyon cutter that came out of nowhere, and I'm like,
dude, Chris Canyon, my God, dude, that if you get a chance, go on YouTube and watch the Dark Side of the Ring, Chris Canyon. Oh my God, what a tortured soul this dude was.
Yeah,
but he was so well ahead of his time. Like the moves that these guys in AEW, and they admit it. Like they talk about it. The Young Bucks, Adam Page, a bunch of those guys all looked up to Canyon growing up because he was like flashy. You know what I mean? He was indie style before it was indie style. He was great. Like, so it is cool to see. Like, I love that. That's why I love like the randomizer, because I'm such a wrestling nerd. It gives you something like that you weren't expecting, and it turns out to be great. Like we'll catch an ECW one, we'll watch an old WWF one, we'll watch old school WCW. There was one time I got caught up on Halloween Havoc, like 94 or something like that. It was like unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like talk about cheesy and stuff.
Yeah.
Old WCW stuff is cheesy, but it's great.
Yeah.
Like it's I love old WCW stuff, obviously. I mean, I love the dream, but man, it was a fun pay-per-view. The Bash at the Beach was fun. Like it was cool to relive that stuff. We'll get into it next time, but man, we should do a draft show. We'll talk about it off air.
Yeah.
We'll talk. We'll narrow it down. I don't want to talk about it on air. Do you have anything else that you want to add before we get off? I know we both like to keep it like compact to like an hour, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm like we're a little over, but I like to keep it as close. That being said, be a friend, tell a friend, share the show, like all of our social media stuff. We're on Instagram, Facebook.
The mid-card is the most important card.
It is the most important part of the card. Without it, that's going to go on a shirt. I'm going to get a shirt.
Yeah.
So like, follow, subscribe.
Is the mid-card.
Comment, like, follow us on YouTube. Comment, like. Even if you want to attack me negatively on Facebook, I still get paid for the comments, so keep it up. And that's about all I got. So until next week, we're gonna do a draft show. I'll drop the news on Facebook when we narrow down an exact day and time. And for that, I'm Bams. That's Joey Wrestling. We'll see you guys in a few days.